Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of What's Better, Raw or Smackdown? I believe last week's Smackdown was better, so right now they're tied, but I've kind of lost track. I have to kind of go back and rewatch the stuff because I've kind of lost track, but I think they're tied from what I remember. And if you watched the last video, which is currently uploading, you would know that I've been not making videos really just because I've studied for finals and Christmas and everything, so that's why this stuff is going up late. And I'm going to try to get all the stuff uploaded. I'm actually not watching this week's Raw and SmackDown. I'm actually watching last week's Raw and SmackDown. So I'm hoping I can get all this stuff up before um, tomorrow, but it's impossible. I'd have to pull an all-nighter, and I have to go to a wrestling event tomorrow. I don't really have to, but I'm going to a wrestling event tomorrow, and I really just don't want to be tired doing it, so I may either have to just watch all of it tonight and then get up early and just watch it all tomorrow. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Just don't know if that's really going to do anything, so we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, this is, so I'm going to be covering last week's stuff, WWE Raw and SmackDown. So this was, let me just see if I can kind of remember what's going on going into Raw. I believe that obviously Raw was coming off Roadblock end of the line, that average pay-per-view, so we had they're going to be probably following up on that, starting to build to the Royal Rumble, so we'll have to wait and see how Raw is. And we have a rematch. I remember we do have a rematch. It's going to be Big Cass versus Rusev, so I guess that's okay. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with Raw. So I'm just gonna break it up. I'm gonna watch the pre-show and then we do the video on it. Then I'm gonna watch the whole episode of Raw, do a video on it, and then I'm gonna do the same thing for SmackDown. I will announce what I'm gonna do with SmackDown in more detail later on in this video. So now that I've kind of talked about it, let's get to the Raw review portion of the video. Okay, so starting with Raw from December 19th, 2016. And we have the pre-show. We have the hosts Booker T and Charlie Caruso. And pre-show is pretty boring. Dana Brooke comes up and interrupts the pre-show, and she pretty much talks about how great Charlotte is for becoming the new four-time Raw Women's Champion, and how great she is, and how Booker T has been working out lately. It was really it. And then backstage, Sin Cara was watching the tussle in Texas and making fun of Titus O'Neil. So Titus O'Neil comes up and Sin Cara jokingly asks him for an autograph, and Titus O'Neil says, "Don't worry, there's going to be a comeback, just like Ronda Rousey, except I'm taller. And you are just going to be wearing a mask, and you only wear it because you're ugly. You're probably ugly underneath." And Sin Cara challenges him to a match, and Titus O'Neil accepts. And that was really the pre-show. It was, like I said, it was pretty boring. Okay, so I just decided to watch the entire show of Raw and SmackDown just because I was getting tired. I didn't feel like doing the video, but I was still awake. I was still awake enough to actually finish the video. Well, actually finish the show, I should say. So let me talk about Raw first. We had Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxton on commentary. We had a Jericho promo, and Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho will talk about pretty much how this was all Chris Jericho's master plan to help Kevin Owens keep the WWE Universal Championship. And Kevin Owens even said that, like, I can't believe he even thought that Chris Jericho was going to stop being his friend. And he said the thing that hurt the worst about this was taking the cold break was that he thought he lost Chris Jericho as the best friend. And Jericho said that giving him the cold breaker hurt him a lot worse than you. And then they start making jokes about Santa Claus, since this is the Christmas episode kind of Raw, so they have the Christmas decorations all set up. And Chris Jericho puts Santa Claus on the list for putting people on the list and stealing his gimmick, which I thought was hilarious. And then Mick Foley comes out and says that you guys shouldn't be putting Santa Claus on the list. And Mick Foley talks about how there's going to be consequences for what you guys did. because Kevin Owens always seems to find a way to walk out with the WWE Universal Championship. So he makes a match for the Royal Rumble. It's going to be Kevin Owens defending the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns in a rematch. I get, and this time at the Royal Rumble, Chris Jericho is going to be hung above the ring in a shark cage. So they bring down the shark cage, and Chris Jericho refuses to do it, and Mick Foley says that if you don't do it, he'll be fired. So Jericho make jokes about how bad it's put together. And before that too, I forgot to mention that Mick Foley also made a tag team match. It was Jericho versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and then and Mick Foley actually went to do his cheap part. He says right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then Jericho's like, we're in Columbus, Ohio. So I thought that was hilarious. So then but then Jericho gets in the cage, and Mick Foley locks it behind him, locks the door on him, and Jericho's asking for the key, because then another thing too is Jericho's also afraid of heights. So Mick Foley goes into his fanny pack trying to find it. He pulls out a bunch of stuff. And then Mick Foley has the cage get raised up, and Jericho's all afraid. So Mick Foley says, "We're gonna find someone to get you out of there, but in the meantime, just hang out." So overall, I thought this was a really good opening segment. I thought it was a good way to set up to the Royal Rumble, and it was a good follow up for what happened at the title match. And obviously, I'm liking the idea of them doing this. This match with Jericho hung above the cage. What I have a feeling is going to happen at the Rumble, though, is that Owens is still going to find a way to pull out the victory. And because Jericho's going to like throw down a weapon or something that Owens will use. And that's probably how Owens will end up keeping the Universal Championship. So that's what I think, though. Anyways. And then Chris Jericho's backstage and he's getting oxygen. And Owen says he's got to focus because we have to take out Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and Jericho just, really needs the oxygen. And then we had Big Cass with Enzo Amore versus Rusev with Lana. This match really didn't go anywhere. Before they were doing the whole shtick, and Rusev interrupts it, and Big Cass loses by disqualification because he beats up Rusev too much in the ropes. I thought it was stupid. Dumb finish. I don't like that finish where you get it, where you pretty much lose for beating up somebody too much. I just hate that finish. And then Sasha Banks cuts a promo talking about how her and Charlotte Flair have gone through history together. That they've done it all. The first Falls Count Anywhere match, the first Women's Hell in a Cell, and now the Iron Man match. But she did not walk out the Raw Women's Champion. And she says that for the first time she doesn't feel like the boss, but she said that Charlotte was the better woman, and she wants to have a face-to-face confrontation. She wants to tell Charlotte that face-to-face. But instead, Nia Jax comes out and says that she is not a boss, and she never will look like a boss, pretty much. And she's got she just is a little Barbie girl to her. And she says that you're weak and vulnerable. So she goes to pick a spot. She tosses because she was on crutches, so she tosses Sasha's crutch and tosses her across the ring, and she goes to beat her up with the crutch, but then she decides not to and leaves, which I thought was kind of stupid because she's supposed to be this monster that likes to destroy people, and she had a clear opportunity to do that here, and it just didn't happen. I thought that was dumb. And then Cesaro and Sheamus are backstage, and they were bickering about who really won the Raw Tag Team Championships. And Mick Foley comes up and congratulates them for making the team work because they even doubted him, but he says that he saw potential in them to change the face of the tag team division. So he presents them with new WWE Raw Tag Team Championships, and they're pretty much. I really don't like the design of the belt. I hate the design of the titles, actually. I believe the only title designs I like is obviously the WWE World Championship, um, the Intercontinental Championship, and and I think I like the United States Championship. But I hate the WWE Universal Championship. It really isn't a bad looking championship, I guess. It's a rip off of the WWE World Championship. And then you have the WWE Smackdown Tag Team Championships, which I personally didn't mind the way they looked. But now you have the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships that look like rip-offs of the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And you have the same thing going on with the women's titles. You have the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship that's a complete rip-off of the WWE Raw Women's Championship. It's stupid. I don't mind the way the Cruiserweight Championship looks, though. That looks pretty good. But yeah, overall, that was really it. And Cesaro and Sheamus start bickering at each other about what the titles should look like and who really won the Raw Tag Team Championships. And then somebody comes up and tells Mick Foley that he is needed because this is really important. So then Braun Strowman is throwing a rampage backstage, tossing shit around, beating people up. And Mick Foley tells him to calm down. Well, he tries to calm him down, but Braun Strowman says that he wants Sami Zayn and he wants him tonight. Or else. And Mick Foley says, well, you can't do that because I had Sami Zayn go home for the night. Because Braun Strowman was saying that Sami Zayn only lasted 10 minutes with him because he let him. So Braun Strowman says, then I guess it's going to be or else. So then he leaves. And then we had so overall, I thought the backstage segments with Cesaro and Sheamus were good, and Braun Strowman backstage, looking like a monster was good. Then we had Cedric Alexander with Alicia Fox versus Noam Dar. It was a waste of time. It was just there. I really don't like the feud. They're pretty much feuding over Alicia Fox, which is dumb. And you have Cedric Alexander and Noam Dar, who are pretty talented wrestlers. They're just in a meaningless feud that nobody cares about. But Cedric Alexander wins with a lumbar check, and afterwards, Noam Dar pretty much says that he wants Alicia Fox. That's about the gist of it. So, like I said, this feud's about Alicia Fox, not Cedric Alexander or Noam Dar. It's pretty much over Alicia Fox, and it's dumb. And then the New Day come out to cut a promo, and they were actually serious New Day. They weren't laughing, they weren't clapping, but they come out and talk about, how for 400, I believe they said 88 days, but I could be wrong, they were the longest reigning tag team champions in company history. And they talk about how they could get all upset and whine about it, but they're not going to do that because this is a chance for them to persevere and they could become tag team champions again. And that Cesaro and Sheamus just outsmarted them and beat them, but they said that they're going to come back hungrier and stronger. So pretty much they're going to say we're going to rebound from this, which I like that. I like the way that makes the New Day look like mega baby faces, and I thought that was really good. And then Cesaro and Sheamus come out, and Sheamus talked about how he was single-handedly won the Raw Tag Team Championships, and they're easily going to hold him longer than the New Day did. And the New Day congratulates Cesaro for being able to outsmart them. And the New Day says that our title reign wasn't a joke. One, we didn't even get new tag team champions. We got stuck carrying the bronze championships. And they also say that go through the stuff that they've done with the Budios and everything. And they said that you'll never have a tag title reign like we did. And then afterwards, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson come out, and they talk about how the reason Cesaro and Sheamus were able to break the record, well, not break the record, but beat the New Day for the titles was because of our attacks, and we softened them up for you. And then the Shining Stars come out, and the Shining Stars try to offer for them a trip to Puerto Rico, but Cesaro rips it up, and then everybody starts fighting with each other. It looked like a pretty lame fight, and then that was it. Overall, I thought the promo segment was actually going really well when it was just Cesaro and Sheamus with the New Day. It was actually going really well until Luke Gallows and Anderson and the Shining Stars got involved, and it just kind of became like a mess. So that's what I thought of this promo. So it wasn't bad, but it was just became a mess. So then we had an 8-man tag team match. This led to an 8-man tag team match between Sheamus, Cesaro, Kofi Kingston, and Big E. Versus, with Xavier Woods inside, versus Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and the Shining Stars. And this match was just an average tag team match. It was really the heels getting the heat on Kofi Kingston. The Big E got the hard tag. Then Sheamus tagged himself in. And Sheamus and Cesaro tried to win. Sheamus hits the counter cross, where Cesaro hits a diving cross body into him, but it didn't really work out for him. And then eventually Cesaro makes a Primo tap out to the sharpshooter, and that was the victory, but it was a very average tag match. And then Enzo Amore and Big Cass are backstage. I mean, pretty much Enzo Amore has to go to sensitivity training. I'm going to get to that later on, but that was the gist of it. Because Enzo felt bad that he's been costing Big Cass matches, and Big Cass says, don't worry about it. And Enzo's like, do you think I'm being too sensitive about it? So that was kind of the whole joke. And then this next thing I actually really liked. We had a Neville promo. And he comes out and says that you guys always cheered for me when I was vulnerable, when I was being beat down. And last night you cheered for me when I took out TJ Perkins and Rich Swann. And he says that he doesn't need their cheers. You can take him back and shove it, pretty much. Which I love that he said that. And he also kind of references that he's mad that there was a cruiserweight division and he wasn't even asked to be a part of it. And then Rich Swann comes out and he talks about how him and Neville used to go way back, and he has this new attitude now. And he says that now that I have this cruiserweight championship and I'm the best cruiserweight in the world, you can't handle this. And Neville talks about how I trained you, and he became like an instant megastar after that, and he regrets doing that. And then Brian Kendrick comes out and says, that Neville should have been in the cruiserweight division all along, that him and Neville are the pioneers of the cruiserweight division, and you guys need to start respecting them. So then Neville and Perkins, Neville says, see, Kendrick gets it, but maybe Swann, you need to you need to be taught a lesson. So then Kendrick and Neville beat the crap out of Rich Swann, but then TJ Perkins tries to come out and makes a save. Neville catches him with an enziguri and just starts beating the crap out of him. And Neville leaves, and then Brian Kendrick picks the bones and hits the sliced bread number 2 on Perkins, and then that was it. I thought this was awesome. I'm really liking the new Neville. He has a nice new aggressive Neville, and I think this is just great. I think I'm glad they're putting him in the cruiserweight division as this big heel, because I think that's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see what they do with this. And this is actually a story I care about right now in the cruiserweight division, which is nice. So then we had sensitivity training. So we meet the I guess like the person running this thing. I don't know what they call that. Just give me a minute. I gotta plug in my computer. But her name is Colleen. I don't remember her last name. The people that are in this thing are Jinder Mahal, Bo Dallas, Darren Young, and Bob Backlund. And who else? There's one more person. That might be it, actually. I can't think of anybody else. But Enzo Amore comes in and he says, what do we got over here? And he pretty much tries to do his whole stick, but Colleen stops him, and then Enzo Amore sits down, and everybody kind of continues telling the story. Later on, this pretty much leads to everybody passing with a certificate. They try to do like a little bit of role playing where Enzo Amore and Jinder Mahal were teasing each other, and eventually Enzo Amore is about to get his his certificate, but then Rusev and Jinder Mahal come in and beat the crap out of him. That's about it. I didn't think it was very good, because these are all characters I don't care about. Obviously, Darren Young and Bob Backlund's thing I don't care about. I really don't care much about Bo Dallas' gimmick. I really didn't mind it at first, but it's just eh. And Jinder Mahal's, he comes in peace. It's just dumb. So that's just kind of where it leads to. And this goes on the rest of the show. So then we had Sin Cara versus Titus O'Neil, and the match never really started. Braun Strowman comes out, beats the crap out of him, power slams O'Neil on the floor, and then Sin Cara tries to dive on him, but Strowman drops him on the ground, and then he takes him up to the ramp, and Mick Foley comes out and tries to stop him, but then Strowman tosses, but he doesn't, but Strowman says, and I said all else, and then Strowman tosses Sin Cara off the stage, and there was like a bunch of Christmas stuff set up, like with Christmas trees and presents, and so lands, and Sin Cara lands right on top of this stuff, and that was it. I thought this was awesome. I thought Braun Strowman coming out there and just killing everybody was awesome, and I thought it was good. And then Chris Jericho's backstage again, and he's all upset about how he was raised over the cage, but Owen says that they have to focus tonight on taking out Roman and Seth. And Jericho then says, "I have arachnophobia, man." And Owen says, "That's fear of spiders." I'm like, I'm afraid of spiders and heights. So I feel like this show is like an R-Truth tribute show because someone messed up the name of the city and town, the state they were in, and they were afraid of spiders and heights. So this is a tribute to R-Truth. So I thought that was awesome. But then Jericho say, "Well, if you know what, you're right. We got to focus because tonight Rollins and Owens are going to get it." So I thought that was really good. And then Charlotte Flair cuts a promo pretty much saying how great that she is. And, I thought that was good. And then Bayley comes out and pretty much wants a match with her, wants to start a feud, saying that she's 2-0 against Charlotte since she's debuted on the main roster. Charlotte tries to put her down, saying that we were the 4 horsewomen, and the reason you didn't come up with me, Sasha, and Becky is because you weren't good enough. But then Bayley challenges her to a match, and Charlotte accepts. And the match was just an average, basic women's match. It really wasn't anything special. The moonsault that Charlotte hit in the match looked good, but then eventually, Bayley beats Charlotte with a backslide, and but Charlotte's shoulder was up, and the referee did miss it, so they were using that as controversy. But overall, an average match. Then we had the makeover of Emma to Emmalina video package. The Emmalina was supposed to debut like 3 weeks ago, so I don't really care about that. Then we had the main event, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns versus Jericho, and this was actually a pretty good main event. Jericho dominate Rollins in the beginning, and then Rollins and Reigns really take control. Jericho try to leave, Rollins and Reigns chase after him. And then Jericho get the heat on Roman Reigns for a long-ass time. And Seth Rollins gets the hot tag, starts taking everybody out. He tries to go for the frog splash. Jericho gets the knees up and gets him into the walls of Jericho. Rollins is able to get to the ropes. Then eventually, Braun Strowman comes out out of nowhere and attacks Roman Reigns. And Jericho used this opportunity to beat the crap out of Rollins. And Strowman then gets in the ring. Hits the power slam on Rollins, and then Jericho beat the crap out of Reigns, toss him in the ring, and Strowman beats him up and hits a power slam on him, and that was the end of the show. Overall, I thought this show was not really that good. It really just wasn't that good of a show. It just was boring. I think this was just one of those holiday shows that really weren't good. The sensitivity training was lame. The whole Nia Jax attacking Sasha Banks I thought was lame. The way the attack happened, and it's a Nia Jax, so I'm not a fan of it. Cedric Alexander versus Noam Dar was pretty lame. Charlotte's promo was just the same thing we see all the time, and then the match with Bayley, they've had way better matches. Big Cass versus Rusev was really barely a match, and then the whole stuff they did with the tag division. I thought the promos themselves were good, but then once they had Gallows and Anderson and stuff get involved, it was just kind of lame. And I just thought the show was just really boring. I just really didn't get into the show. The stuff that I did like was good, but it just wasn't enough to get me through the show. I just wasn't. Alright, so then we have Smackdown. Let me get to that. So this Smackdown took place on December 20th, 2016. And we had the pre-show. We had the hosts, Renee Young and Booker T. And we had Breezango invade the panel and pretty much give them tickets. and they just pretty much stay there and just talk about stuff. So I thought they actually did pretty good. I actually don't mind the gimmick that they have. They're actually making it work. I think it's good. I like it when they have the silence and they actually end up later on going out and chasing somebody. So I thought that was funny. So then we have the show itself. We had Tom Phillips, JBL Moore, Wanalo, and David Otunga on commentary. We had a WWE World Championship match. WWE World Champion AJ Styles versus James Ellsworth. Obviously, this was building for a while because James Ellsworth had earned this title shot, and he's beaten AJ Styles 3 times. And pretty much the whole match was Styles bullies him around for a little bit. Ellsworth was going to go for no chin music, but Styles blocks it, and then Styles hits a bunch of elbows and forearms and hits a wicked right hand right to James Ellsworth, covers him and gets the win, and that was really the whole match. Styles won in very quick fashion, and that makes total sense because one, I hate James Ellsworth, and two, he should be destroyed. This is what should have happened all along. So, you know. Then afterwards, Styles murders James Ellsworth. I loved this. He tosses him on the outside, throws him against the announcer's table, and he even slingshots him. He throws him into the not really the ring apron, but the stuff like the support beam of the ring, I think it's called, and he slingshots him into it, and then he hits a snap suplex into the barricade, and that was just awesome. And Styles says that had been building up for 3 weeks, and he says that nobody is going to stop him. He's pretty much taking a vacation. He's the WWE World Champion, and he says now it's time to focus on 2017. And then Dolph Ziggler comes out and says, you're not going to do that quite yet because I still have my WWE World Championship match next week, which is this week. And Ziggler says that he wants, and pretty much Styles says that, that his win-loss record isn't the greatest, but then Ziggler says he gets that, but he put it all on the line to win the Intercontinental Championship. And he says, imagine what I would do for the WWE World Championship. And then Baron Corbin comes out and says that he should get a WWE Championship match because he feels like he deserves it. He's been destroying everybody, and Ziggler's just been losing matches all the time. And then Ziggler says that he's earned this opportunity. He's been here for years, and you're just a kid. And then afterwards, Baron Corbin's like, well, maybe next week. And then he cheap shots Ziggler, but Ziggler tries to fight back, but then Baron Corbin lays him out with the end of days. And that was it. I thought this was a very good opening segment. The beatdown with James Ellsworth I really enjoyed because I hate James Ellsworth. And the promo segment with Ziggler and Styles and Ziggler and Corbin I thought was very good. Then Daniel Bryan was backstage, and Dolph Ziggler pretty much wants a match with Baron Corbin. So Daniel Bryan tells him that if he wants the match, he has to put up his WWE World Championship match up. And if Baron Corbin beats, so whoever, pretty much if Baron Corbin beats him, he gets his championship match. And Ziggler agrees to it. He says, I risked it all before. I'm willing to do it again. And then we had an Intercontinental Championship match. Intercontinental Champion The Miz with Maurice ringside versus Apollo Crews, which was actually a pretty good match. Apollo Crews dominates the whole match, really. And he actually ended up hitting a... and eventually, though, Maurice tries to interfere, but the referee catches her and kicks her and sends her to the back. And Apollo Crews ends up hitting a wicked German suplex on Miz. I thought that looked pretty sick. And then Miz thumbs behind the referee's back, thumbs Crews in the eyes, and hits the skull crushing finale for the win, and retains the Intercontinental Championship. And then afterwards, Renee Young cuts an in-ring interview segment, and then she asks him what his obsession is with Dean Ambrose. And the Miz says, my obsession with Dean Ambrose isn't as near. I think you're the one that's obsessed with Dean Ambrose because you're the one sleeping with him every night, which I thought was a great line. Then afterwards, Renee Young slaps the dog shit out of Miz, and that was really good. I actually really enjoyed this. The match itself was good, and in the after promo, and I really enjoyed actually a Miz Dean Ambrose program. I think that's actually a pretty good program. I guess they decided to kill off the James Ellsworth Dean Ambrose thing. I guess they decided that's not working, and I'm glad they actually having Miz feud with Dean Ambrose because he's the top star really on Smackdown, and Miz is the top star on Smackdown, so I'm glad they're having them feud. So I'm actually enjoying it. And then we have an update on Zack Ryder, because I don't think I've said this yet, but Zack Ryder pretty much had a knee injury, I think they said he's going to be out for 6 months. He had to have surgery and everything, which I think sucks for him. But it seems like every time he gets some sort of push, it just gets ruined for him. He had that U.S. title reign that, they pretty much just buried him for no reason. He was involved in that whole feud with Cena and Kane. And then he had the whole thing where he won the Intercontinental Championship and then he lost it a day later. And then he just finally gets something going with the Hype Bros with Mojo Rawley, and then it just really didn't work out for him here, so it sucks. And then Natalya comes out to cut a promo, and she calls out Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella comes out, and then Carmella comes out and pretty much says that she wants to see how this all unfolds. How Natalya tries to wheel her way out of this one. And Nikki Bella says, "How do I know that you're not just saying this stuff and you're not the one that attacked me?" And Carmella says, "If I really was going to attack you, I've been open about it. I've bragged about the fact that I've attacked you." And she insults Nikki, and Natalya tells her to stop that. She pretty much defends Nikki, and Carmella says, "Why are you being so defensive? Weren't you the one that was saying that you should have been the team captain at Survivor Series? Weren't you the one that said that the Bella twins have been stealing your spotlight?" And Natalya says, and Nikki's like, "Natalya, did you say that?" And Natalya's like, "Yes, I said that." And then pretty much Carmella says, "I told her that in private, and you went out pretty much behind my back and said something about it." So then Natalya chases Carmella, tries to attack her. And then she cuts on the mic, and this is when stuff really gets good, because I was hating this segment up until this point. And then she says, "Yeah, okay, Nikki, yeah, I did it, you bitch." And she pretty much goes off on Nikki Bella, talks about how she's been stealing the spotlight, and everything that Nikki Bella's been able to do, I should have done. I should have been the longest reigning Divas champion. I should have been, had my own spin-off. I'm a hoe, damn it, and I deserve the opportunities. You don't deserve any of them. And then she says, and that's why John Cena will never marry you. And then drops the mic, and I thought Natalya's promo was awesome. I actually was really getting into it, and this actually made this segment. If this promo didn't happen, I would have come on here and completely buried this segment. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do. And a lot of people don't like Natalya as a heel, and I think she's better as a babyface. But when she's this type of heel, that's when I like Natalya, because this is what Natalya should be saying as a heel, that she always has been given and given and given to people, and always has trained people, and been like that diva, that woman that you can come to for advice. And she should just be sick of all that, and I'm glad they're finally doing something with that, because they were just not doing it. They haven't done anything with Natalya at all. And then we have a John Cena video package, pretty much showing everything that he's done in his career, and announcing that he's returning on next week, which I can't wait to see that, actually. It's going to be nice to see Cena back, because we haven't seen Cena since No Mercy, I believe. Yeah, can't wait to see what they do when he comes back. I don't know if he's going to be... I heard he's not working WrestleMania this year, so I don't know what they're going to do with him. And then Daniel Bryan's backstage again, and Alexa Bliss comes up, and Daniel Bryan says, "I bet you think this should be some sort of punishment for what happened last week." And Alexa says, "Yeah, Becky Lynch should be punished for injuring my knee." And Daniel Bryan says, "Not quite tonight, because next week I'm going to book a Smackdown Women's Championship match between you and Becky Lynch." And she says that tonight, and she says, "I talked to the officials backstage, and I found out your knee isn't really injured. So tonight you're going to go out there and wrestle, or you're going to be stripped of the SmackDown Women's Championship." So, yeah, that was actually a pretty good promo, and I actually like that they had consequences, so that was good. So then we had Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton inside, and this was actually overall a solid match. Nothing really new you would see from these guys, though. And Ambrose wins with a roll-up. Then afterwards, the Wyatt family beat the crap out of him, and Bray Wyatt feeds Orton into an RKO. And they also announced, too, that there's going to be since Zack Ryder got injured and the Hype Bros can't get the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match, there's going to be a Four Corners elimination match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. It's going to be the Usos, Beauty and the Man Beast, and American Alpha going up against Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, which I kind of can't wait to see that match. That actually match sounds like really good. Sounds really good. Then afterwards, The Miz comes out and lays out Ambrose with a skull crushing finale. So like I said, builds up more to Miz and Ambrose feud, which I like. And overall, I actually enjoyed this. And then we had Alexa Bliss versus La Luchadora. And La Luchadora, we think this is going to be a squash, but then La Luchadora gets her in the disarmer, which is Becky Lynch's finisher, and Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss taps out for the win. And we find out that all along it was Alexa Bliss hiding underneath the mask. And I actually was decently surprised. This was actually something pretty cool, so I didn't mind this too much. And then Wyatt Philippines backstage, and this is the guy that stars in the movie Shooter, in the TV show Shooter, that once was a movie that Mark Wahlberg was in. And Randy Orton guest starred on the show, and he's trying to find Orton. And Mojo Rawley comes up and says, "You don't want to find Orton. He's gone crazy now." And Kurt Hawkins comes up, and I really didn't pay much attention to what they said, and they exchange words that leads into a match, and then they have the match, and Mojo Rawley just beats Kurt Hawkins, and Wyatt Philippine was on commentary for this match, and I just really didn't care about this. It was just pointless. And then James Ellsworth is backstage, and he's all injured, and they're trying to get an update on him. He's supposed to go to the hospital, and the interviewer just keeps asking him question after question, and then eventually Carmella comes up and says, "Stop. Leave him alone. You let him breathe. He just had a title match, and she goes to take care of him. So I guess they're gonna do some sort of relationship angle, which is dumb, because in the real world, there's no way a guy like James Ellsworth would ever even date a girl like Carmelo in a million years. So that would just not happen. So that was dumb. And then we had the main event. It was a WWE World Championship #1 contenders match: Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin, with AJ Styles on commentary. And overall, this was actually a really good main event. Eventually, the match ends with a double countout. And Corbin had tossed Ziggler into Styles, and then Ziggler hits a super kick. And then afterwards, Styles gets a steel chair and lays out everybody with a chair, Ziggler and Corbin. And Daniel Bryan comes out and makes the WWE World Championship match a triple threat match. It's going to be Styles versus Ziggler versus Corbin. And then they had Talking Smack, and they had Santa Claus on it, and they were doing a lot of weird folding and burping jokes with him. Baron Corbin has an interview segment talking about how he deserves to be in the main event, and he's finally getting what he wants. La Luchadora, best known as Becky Lynch, talking about how people, all the champions are using underhanded tactics to cheat. And she says that she doesn't like that. Natalya, doing more of Natalya, thinking that Nikki Bella's taking a spotlight, and the Bella twins are taking a spotlight. And that was really Smackdown. And then afterwards, Santa goes to give everybody presents, but we find out that it was nothing. Santa was being really creepy, which was weird. But overall, that was Smackdown, and I thought Smackdown was actually a really good show. I actually enjoyed it top to bottom, except maybe one segment, but not everything's going to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect wrestling show, so you can't really ask for that. There's always going to be that one thing you don't like. So, this was still a really good show. I thought SmackDown was way better than Raw. They actually were building to something, and they actually were building to the final SmackDown of 2016. And I thought that was really awesome. And this was a really awesome SmackDown. So I thought SmackDown was better than Raw. So yeah. So that's pretty much my video. Make sure to subscribe, and I will be back sooner rather than later to give you another video.